Hi everyone, welcome back. So if you are new here, my name is Seda Alam. I'm a yoga teacher and Ayurvedic lifestyle advisor. And I recently, well, some months ago now, was in India doing a Panchakarma detox treatment for 28 days. So this is the final video of the Panchakarma Diaries. And I completed this, well, I actually arrived back in England on the 1st of January 2025. It is now March the 17th. So I waited a while to record this video for a few reasons. Firstly, because I just needed to come back and get myself into the groove of being back into my life and running my business, teaching my classes. But also I noticed that the ghee just kept on giving. So even, up until now, and I think this probably will still continue, I am noticing shifts and changes and benefits and progression long after December. So it's really quite remarkable what's been happening and what's been going on and how I'm feeling now compared to when I arrived in India back in December. So that's why it's taken me a while to record the video. I wanted to wait for the right time just so I could properly talk about the things that have happened as well. Because there needs to be that integration process and just a little bit of space for me to process also what has been and continues to happen. So let's circle back to some of the symptoms I was experiencing before I left. I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2016. I have had significant mental health problems since a child. Depression, anxiety. I have recently been diagnosed with ADHD, CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. With all of that comes, many different things which I've had to navigate with my mental health, emotional regulation issues, noise sensitivity, depression, anxiety, of course, panic disorder. My panic disorder was very bad last year, the worst it'd ever been. Of course, then you get sleep problems and a lot of fatigue. I had been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome about 5 years ago, but I am perhaps now under the impression that that was more likely to be neurodivergent burnout instead of being CFS. Some of the symptoms that came with that were obviously extreme tiredness, brain fog, sleep issues again, bodily pain, particularly in my back and my shoulders, problems with executive functioning, so decision making, that's also ties in with the ADHD, digestion issues. With the endometriosis, I had painful periods. The list goes on. There's a lot to deal with over the past 10 years. So this is why I went to India. This is why I went to do the Panchakarma. I had been working with Ayurveda for 2 years prior to going out to India, incorporating the lifestyle and diet changes that were relevant to me and my dosha and my imbalances. And going out to do the Panchakarma was kind of like the last piece of the puzzle for me. I'm hoping that, I was hoping that it would clear and shift all the things which I didn't have the capacity to do on my own, the medicine that is used with the ghee and the herbs and everything, I didn't have the knowledge to do that myself. You need someone else to do it. I think there's a lot to be said about the trust that you put in somebody to help you through this as well. So that's a bit of background on what I went with. How do I feel now? Well, I feel the best I have felt in 10 years. Let's just put this, so there's a lot to cover here, but for example, let's look about the sleep. So my sleep was so poor and I had such severe noise sensitivity that I couldn't sleep in my house. I live in a property where it's like terraced, so I'm between two people, and even the smallest things like extractor fans would keep me up at night and wake me up. So I was significantly affected with that. And I think for about 3 months before I went to India, I was staying at my mum's house every night. I would use my house as my office and my kitchen and my lounge space, and then I would just leave here at like 9 and go to sleep at my mum's, and then arrive back in the morning. Since I've come back, I haven't slept at my mother's once, which is huge. It's really, really huge. Not only that, I found before I left, I still wear earplugs because I am still sensitive to noise, but even wearing the earplugs would be an issue for me. So that's all gone now. I can sleep quite comfortably here with my earplugs in, and my sleep is much deeper, so I'm not waking up as much. And massive improvement with the sleep. My digestion is much better. I think I used to get a lot more problems around my cycle time with the endometriosis, but that seems to be much more manageable. I mean, when I first came back, geez, my digestion felt like it was brand new. Really, I really felt like I'd had a full clean on the inside, and it made a huge difference. I notice now how my digestion is more descriptive of what my dosha is like when I'm in balance. So I had, variable digestion before, but there were lots of things which would suggest a pitta, too much pitta in my system. Now things seem to have calmed down, and it's just very much in line with how a vata dosha digestion would be. So it's been quite interesting to see myself move back into balance, and obviously I know what I'm looking for here because I've studied it. So yeah, digestion is much better. I have noticed that, therefore, because my digestion is better, my energy has improved greatly. So those of you that have known me for a while have known how things have been for me when I was at my most fatigued points. Many things were an issue for me over the years, just, day-to-day living, cooking food, working normally. Everything was kind of on a meter. I had to really watch where I was putting my energy, and the micromanagement that involved in that was quite significant. But now I find myself able to work for several hours at a time whilst cooking myself fresh meals every day, whilst incorporating exercise into my routine and teaching my classes, and feeling very able to do all these things, which before was a real struggle for me. I'm also walking a lot more, so I am able to walk to some of my classes, maybe once or twice a day, and walking has become somewhat of a hobby for me now. So I went to London last weekend, and over the weekend I walked 31,000 steps. And just to add, that was the week before my period, which generally for me is a very, very tired and low week. Where beforehand, a year ago, I'd just have to be sat on the sofa watching Netflix, not being able to do much at all because my body needed the rest. So significant improvements with my energy levels, significant improvements with my sleep. Let's talk about my emotional regulation. So again, this was quite a huge thing for me. A year ago, I would say I probably had the worst breakdown of what I've ever experienced, with all the changes and the shifts and the loss that was going on in my life. And since I've come back, I just feel this steadiness, this focus and resilience. I mean, if anything, the only regulation issues that I have at the moment are becoming too excited. So there's a lot more joy in my life at the moment, and becoming overly excited is only where my emotions seem to be dysregulated. I still need to watch that with the ADHD. I can get a little bit crazy sometimes. But yeah, I feel much more steady, much more resilient, and just circling back to the sensitivity thing as well. I noticed in the beginning of the year, when the weather was still very cold, how I just didn't really feel affected by that as much either. Normally I I might moan a bit, or I just feel it in my body, feel the cold, but I felt like it just didn't really bother me. So my sensitivity to temperature and all that kind of stuff has also diminished somewhat, which has been quite interesting. I think I remember when I first came back as well, one of the first or second weeks of being back, I probably had the most productive week of work I think I've ever had since running my business. With the ADHD and the trauma, I often have problems trying to prioritize tasks and getting them finished. Especially when there's a lot on my to-do list, it can often become overwhelming for me. But in that week, it was just so easy. Like, I came back and I had, however many things on my to-do list. I was like, right, let me do this first. And I would just get it done. And I'm like, right, next, and just get it done. And then the next thing and get it done. And I've never experienced that before. So that was quite huge. And I think because then once I've started to get the confidence back with all these things, it's kind of just snowballing. And then there's even more progression, and here we go again, and just leveling up. So yeah, it's been quite insane to see how far I've come in such a short space time based on what happened in India. I just want to add again how I think that doing what I had done before I'd gone to India really kind of set me up for the success that I'm feeling right now. So having, worked with my diet and my lifestyle and my way of thinking through Ayurveda and the yoga, and incorporating the dosha and using my dosha as a basis for that, has really got my body to a point where it was ready to receive the treatments in the right way, because they are quite intense and you are putting your body through a lot. And I think the preparation phase is really important. I'm not sure it would have been this successful if I hadn't already been doing that for the time before I went out there. I mean, one thing that's kind of been a bit tricky to manage was when I first came back, and I'd been kind of sectioned off for a month, been fed food. It was quite minimal calories, basic, nourishing, wholesome food that gave my body what it needed. No sugar, no caffeine, all of that stuff. And then as soon as you're put back out into, society, the temptations are there. Marketing is just insane. You are literally just, there's temptation all around you, a coffee shop in every corner, sweet stuff, fast food. And very quickly my body started to crave all of the things that I had missed for the month that I was away. So I was just kind of going through all of my favorite treats one at a time, trying to take my time with it and introduce, things slowly into my body, because whilst I had the intention to really, change my eating and everything off the back of this, I also want to live my life. I don't want to be extremely restricted all of the time. I've lived like that before, and I've also found that quite detrimental in some ways. So I do want a little bit of freedom, of course, and Ayurveda is very forgiving in that way, that we do what we can when we can, and we take what's manageable. So I was slowly introducing these foods in, whether it be a donut or a cup of coffee, etc. And I kind of did go on a little bit of a binge for some weeks. And that has been probably the hardest thing for me now, because I'm at a point where I feel so well and I am not affected by foods that much anymore. This was something that used to affect me. Certain foods would either make me very tired or give me a headache, or I just wasn't digesting them well enough. Now I can eat the crap stuff and still feel great and have good energy. Oof, slippery slope. So I need to be very careful right now that I am, still being quite mindful of what I'm putting into my body, whilst having a little bit of fun at the same time. So I think that's probably been the most challenging thing for me since I've come back. Do I think it's worth it? 100%, without a doubt. I think this is probably one of the best things I've done for my health, and I would highly recommend it if you feel like Ayurveda is calling you, and if you want to clean yourself from the inside out. I think it's a really great way to look after yourself, not only just to get rid of symptoms and illnesses, but to prevent them as well. So I will be returning, and I will be doing this again. I plan to go every couple of years now. I think the experience was just fantastic. Like, I kind of can't wait to do it again, really. So yeah, definitely would recommend this. And if you're thinking about doing that but would like some advice or some guidance on how to start incorporating Ayurveda into your life, then I offer personalized consultations where we sit down and have a conversation about what's going on for you, and we assess your dosha, and then I'll give you some recommendations of how Ayurveda can help you live a more balanced life, and how Ayurveda can give you more energy and just help you feel your best self. So I think that's probably summing it up. If you have any questions on this experience, just pop them in the comments, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. And thank you for watching. I'm glad I finally concluded this series. We got there in the end. But yeah, I have a feeling that things are still going to keep progressing for me. The ghee is going to keep on giving, and I'm really hopeful for the spring and for the rest of the year. So thanks for tuning in.